Greetings, fellow survivors. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Infection-Free Zone. If you would like to skip the game's overview or the details of this series, please use YouTube chapters. Infection-Free Zone is a game where you choose any location in the world and set it up as your base of operations to rebuild society after the world collapsed from a zombie apocalypse. The goal of the game is to create a self-sustaining settlement and defend it from hordes of the undead and roaming packs of bandits. The stream will be a mix of Let's Play and tutorial, and I will be playing on the medium difficulty map Alice Springs, and I'll explain this in just a second, which is in Australia, with all the other settings to their respective default medium settings. The starting location that was originally voted for, which was the Poland one, I actually played through right before the stream, and honestly, it was so resource scarce that the pacing was so slow that it would have prevented me from showcasing the game in its fullest. So I vetoed the popular choice of going with the rural Poland start and instead going with Australia. And as usual, major choices will be polled by live viewers. So when you create a new game, you can pick any of the default recommended locations, which are, for better or for worse, going to be debugged. You can also just pick any location. So if I just wanted to like zoom in on, I don't know, part of Italy here, show the highlighted playable tiles, I can just pick wherever the hell I want to go if it's a highlighted playable tile. With that said, I've chosen for this stream to be in Alice Springs, and here are the settings on the right side of the screen. It has 3,600 buildings, and about a tenth of those on the center tile. The forest percent, I've never seen not zero, really, so you can kind of ignore that. It has points of interest, roads, water. One important setting here, the two main concerns here is how many buildings there are and ambient temperature. The colder it is, the harder it will be for you early game to grow food if the grow season's pretty short. Another one that is worth noting is the number of vehicles and expeditions. So if you want a map full of a lot of stuff, you should look for a lot of buildings, a lot of expeditions, and so on and so forth. So let's jump into Alice Springs. And we're going to be sent into a cinematic cutscene, so I'm going to disappear here in a second. We are going to be the infection-free zone of Yodaville. And I'm going to turn on tutorial events and step you guys through the tutorial. You can also change the settings here. But as I said, I'm setting them to default, but you can raise or lower resources, people, or a horde number if you'd like. And it changes the color of the flag and the wear and tear, dictating how difficult it is. And then, let's see. I don't think that there's like a dog. So I'm just going to go with a grayscale. I kind of like that. All right, let's start.
The world as we know it is gone. What we called the mad virus appeared out of nowhere. It made people turn extremely violent, aggressive, and unrestrainable. Soon later, the infected became bloodthirsty, more like vampires than human. There was chaos, panic, and war for survival. Desperate people were just as dangerous as the virus itself. Even our loved ones could become a threat. The infection spread quickly throughout the entire globe. Every region, every country, every city. Drastic measures were taken to get rid of the infected, but they all failed. The last chance for those who seemed immune was to hide in underground shelters, ones that we improvised in garages and basements, loaded with food, water, and air filtration systems. These were the places where we survived, sealed from the outside. For so long, we waited for any signal, any info that a cure had been found, or the situation stabilized. Instead, we listened as the world grew quiet. Our resources were becoming depleted. Life support systems were failing. And just as we were losing all hope, we received a distant call.
To all survivors, the infection is in decline. Seek others and rebuild.
This was the impulse we needed. There were others out there. We could come back to the surface. No more hiding. From the ruins of the old world, we will build our new home.
Operator, this is first squad leader. We made our way out. The neighborhood looks deserted. We'll have to scavenge the nearby buildings for any useful resources.
Alright. So, playing through the tutorial, it's going to direct you to do certain actions in order to learn the game. And I'll be playing through the tutorial and filling in any missing information that I feel is relevant for you guys to learn how to play the game.
Okay, find something to eat as fast as possible.
So at the start of the game, you have a headquarters here, and this acts as both warehouse, squad center, and a little bit of a living quarters. As you can see, it houses 23, we have 45, so we've outgrown it. The first things it wants me to do is to turn on scavenge view, which is V as in Victor, and we'll show you what there is to be scavenged around. Then you select your squad, here,
Receiving.
and this is squad 1. You can use control groups, so if you hit control 1, you save your squad group 1 to the 1 key, which I find very helpful. And we want to tell them to scavenge around for food. I also plan on naming my squads after you guys, so I'm going to have a giveaway here for the name of squad 1. So raffle timer's up for that. And what I'm going to do is have them go to the adjacent building to search for cans of food, and then to return the collected food back to the HQ. At the same time, I'm going to create another squad.
Waiting orders.
So this is squad 2. Oh, it's an all-women squad. Nice. And squad 2, you are going to search another adjacent building. You can have as many squads as you have people, but I would highly advise only creating squads if you can arm them, because an unarmed squad is a squad that is likely going to die a gruesome and gory death. And then I'll unpause. The other thing I'm going to do before I unpause, actually, is we have 32 citizens not doing anything. So I'm going to issue a gather wood command and dragging a box over like this and assigning every single one to cut down trees for building materials. And we have 6 people that are unemployed left, so I'm going to do the same thing with metal. Dragging a big old box and employing the remaining 6, harvesting scrap metal from lampposts and cars and the like. Okay. During the day, your citizens can go out in the world and work. Save for some caveats, like particularly bad storms are going to be too dangerous to go out during the day. But generally speaking in this game, zombies cannot go out in the sunlight. They're kind of like vampires. Think kind of like I Am Legend, if you will. And that allows the citizens to leave the safety of the base and scavenge, build, farm, construct, etc. Now, one thing that's important to note is every building will have 1 or 2 entry points. So like this building, for instance, has a door here. It means that if I want to send a squad in there, they have to enter through the door. This is kind of important when it comes later on in the game to defend. It's just worth noting that when you're trying to enter a building, sometimes the nearest entryway is not going to be facing you. Do the squads... so a lot of the questions I see in chat, wait and see. Just wait and see. You're getting ahead of the tutorial, and I'm not going to be answering questions that I will answer once they come up within the tutorial. Okay, so I have scavenged a building and found food cans. And here we are. Here's the squad with 1, 2, 3 food cans. And I'm going to right-click the HQ to have them go drop off their squad resources back to base. And that will satisfy the scavenge nearby buildings.
We're on the move.
And I'm going to send the squad back out to scavenge other adjacent buildings.
Search done.
I like to scavenge many of the buildings immediately adjacent to the base because you can refit the buildings for your own use, and we'll be showing that in a minute.
Sir, the crates are in the HQ. We have to think what to scavenge first. It will be best to check some shops or warehouses.
Okay, I'll point you where to go.
Chief, I will speak on behalf of the other citizens. Let us go and adapt the buildings to suitable shelters, so we won't spend a single more night underground.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, current priority is build a shelter. So, there is a morale in the top of the screen, and right now our morale is good. We finally left the shelter, our vault, if you will, and for the next 70 hours we have a 28% mood buff for getting out, but many of the citizens don't have their own shelter. If you click on the HQ, as you can see, there's only room for 23, and we have 45 people. So we need to house them elsewhere. So in order to do that, we adapt buildings into a shelter. And the way this works, later on you can build buildings from scratch, which are really expensive and really unaffordable early game. But early on, you can adapt a building as a shelter. And any of the buildings around you will do, and depending on how large the building is, will determine how many people it can shelter. So for instance, this immediately adjacent building here can shelter 45. This one can shelter 54. I'm going to go with the 54 over here. And depending on the height, depth, and width of a building, it will have different costs. So for instance, this giant building, because it has a lot of square footage, could shelter 263 people, but it would cost 351 wood in order to adapt, which is a really bad choice because it will basically never be a shelter. It's just too expensive. So I'm going to choose this building here as a shelter. Or actually, I'm going to choose the one immediately next to our HQ. And then what I want to do is take maybe... We have 55 wood on hand, and it costs 61 to adapt this to a shelter. So I'm going to take 6 of the people chopping down trees and putting them on adapting the shelter. Alright, the squad number 1 is going to be named the Bloody Death Squad. I hope they don't live up to that name. Or maybe they do that to raiders or something. And the second squad is the... oh god, I wish I knew how to pronounce that.
Operator.
The Boutman Squad, or something. Alright, with that said, my second squad here is going to start looking for high priority destinations. So, squad number 2, Boutman Squad, I'm going to send down to the police headquarters, because the police headquarters is going to be way more likely to give me ammo, pistols, rifles, riot gear, and shotguns, which are pretty handy early on. While the Bloody Death Squad is going to scavenge the nearby buildings instead. And you can hold shift to queue them up. You can see all the commands here. The other thing is you can drag to queue up all the buildings in a vicinity. But in this case, I want to scavenge buildings in a very specific order adjacent to our base. So I'm issuing commands in that regard.
Let's do it.
So while we are adapting this as a shelter, I'll talk about some other UI elements. This is just how many objectives you have. This is your research panel, which we'll get to soon. The ambient temperature and weather forecast. Morale, as I went over. Month. So every day in the game is a month, and winter months will have severely reduced growing, and also daylight. Unless, of course, you live on the equator. If you live on the equator, obviously a day is the same length every day. But we're in Australia, so that isn't true. And as a result, we have to keep an eye on when sunrise and sunset is, because it will change from day to day, month to month. You have your time of day, and in this time of day, it's important to know that at 5:23 p.m., sunset occurs and all of the citizens will stop working and return back to base. Your squads don't have to, but in many situations, they probably should for their own safety. You have time controls, and then you have food. So up here, we have how much food we have, and right now we have canned goods, but no cooked meals, no grain, and no meat. We've got ammo, how many weapons we have 2 spare pistols, how much fuel, 0. Construction materials, we have 37 wood, 22 metal, no bricks, and no tools. And then other, which is fertilizer, medicine, vaccines, protection gear, which we are probably going to find in the abandoned police station sooner or later.
Sir, the sun is getting low. We don't know what's going to happen during the night. We can continue our scavenging operations in the dark, but that will be way more dangerous than waiting until sunrise.
Okay, I'm going to say continue. I'm going to have my squads continue scavenging.
Carry on. We need those resources.
Sir, it is too dangerous for unarmed civilians to work after nightfall. Everyone will return home.
But the citizens,
Let's be safe.
regardless, will return home.
Stop working.
Ready for action.
Start winding down for some rest.
And as you can see, they're all packing up for the day and heading back in.
Let's do it. Roger. Reporting.
So the shelter has enough wood
We're on the move.
to be fully constructed. So what I'm going to do for tomorrow is max out the amount of people refitting the shelter so that it gets built as soon as possible.
Roger. Hostiles inbound.
Oh, and here's our first horde.
Sir, just saw a group of infected. They might not be aware of our presence yet.
All right, I'm going to tell my squad to get ready.
Get ready to fight.
We're on the move. Another one incoming.
So as your squad's scavenging, depending on the size of the building, there'll be a progress meter. It's a blue meter here, or the percent progress there. Large buildings, of course, take longer to scavenge.
Waiting orders. On my way.
And I'm having one squad scavenge
Spotted.
quite close to the base so that they can defend the base. And it's also worth noting that your base will have a physical structure HP. This gets to a very important feature, which is the difference between secured buildings and unsecured buildings.
Incoming.
Secured buildings are buildings that the colony owns, where their access points are essentially blocked or barricaded. So, in the case that you have a squad defending a secure building, like this green headquarters, the zombies would have to fully destroy the building before the members within the building get hurt. Abandoned buildings or unsecured buildings can be breached by enemies,
Going there.
and that is an important difference.
There are some infected around here.
There's a lot of hordes around me.
Sir, the winter is coming. The days will be shorter. The farms won't produce any more food. We should brace ourselves. This might be the hardest days of the year.
Because we are in the southern hemisphere, we're heading towards the winter rather than the summer, which is very different than most of the other start locations that are default, which are north of the equator. And as you can see, I've just been scavenging, kind of ignoring these hordes, as all of the squad members in the squad all have firearms. And you can kill hordes relatively effectively with firearms.
Hostiles inbound.
Now, if we wanted to, we could move within the building to the corner closest to the horde and open fire on the horde. So here's our first firefight. And the horde will enter the building, but they have to enter the building through the same entry point that we use. Meaning that if I'm not near the door, which is here, the horde not only has to go all around the building, but then enter. So that's why it's important to note where your entry and exit points are, because they can significantly change whether or not you get immediately attacked, or if you have a lot of breathing room before they breach. Of course, as I said before, secured buildings means that the zombies won't even try to enter the building. They have to break in, which takes them a lot longer. It also damages the building, of course, but it does take a lot longer.
Let's do it.
So because I want to stay productive throughout the night, I'm planning on not sending my squads home right now. Really early on in the game, it's relatively easy. It's easy enough that you don't necessarily need to have one squad guarding your HQ at all the time. Later on, that might be different. And there's also some pretty good reasons to do that as well. And I'll get into that once we're a bit later on in the game. So continuing the UI, any problems are going to be up here. So if you see like a fork and a knife, you have food problems. If you see a house, it's shelter problems. And in this case, it's because we don't have enough shelter for everyone.
Ready for action. Ready for action.
Oh, this building had a lot of ammo and food. That's nice.
Operator.
And if we wanted to take out this horde, which is not necessarily a bad idea, I'm going to try to get the squad to the edge of the building, shooting out these windows, clearing the horde. And one of the reasons to do this is hordes during the day will often either burrow underground or infest neighboring buildings. So if you don't clear out hordes, you could end up in a situation where they infest the buildings around you, making them harder to kill. So I wanted to take out this horde, but the entry point for this building happens to face the horde. So in this case, it wouldn't make sense for me to try to rush into that door, because I would probably get ganked in the process. Now, unless you're wearing a lot of armor, typical survivors can sort of run at the same pace as the horde. But it's not really worth the risk. I can just sit here and wait and see if they come for me.
No more to find. Ready for action. Kill them. Roger.
And I'm just going to ignore them for now, as it's not, they're not a large group. And the size of the group is represented in this circular bar. Initially, you're always going to have like human dominant type hordes, but later on you get other types. It's not just human types.
Receiving. Waiting orders. Let's do it.
Okay.
Building clear.
And it will be daybreak in about an hour in game.
Ready for action. On my way.
Oh, here comes the zombies. So let's get into position. And done.
Going there.
Still in bed? Get up and off to your duty.
Okay, all the citizens are back to work. It's daybreak. And the goal today is to get the shelter up and running.
Waiting orders. Ready for action.
And that should help with morale a bunch. So here, the citizens that cut down the trees are returning the trees back to the HQ.
This night was easy. There are sure to be some infected around here. We should build some defenses before the next nightfall.
And the tutorial wants me to build a watchtower.
Let's build a wooden tower.
So, in defenses, a wooden tower, my 2 cents, honestly, I find the wooden towers are completely worthless and you shouldn't use them. But for the tutorial's sake, I'm going to build one anyway. So I'm going to build a wooden tower here. And I'll have the building crew that is building the shelter, once they're done, transition over to the wooden tower.
Chief, if we want to build anything else, we need more resources. Send workers to chop down some trees. Maybe we could build some palisades with that too.
Okay, let's gather some wood.
Operator, reporting.
So the reason why I don't like watchtowers,
Going there.
unless you absolutely need them, is they're manned by people with guns.
Chief, there are signs of smoke.
But it makes a lot more sense just to have squad members that hole up and secure buildings instead of a watchtower, in my opinion. If you can do it that way.
Let's investigate.
On my way. Receiving.
Okay, I'm going to have the Bloody Death Squad investigate the smoke that is adjacent to the base. And the shelter is just about done.
Let's do it.
Okay, now that the shelter's done, we are going to build a wooden tower and build a warehouse. The game tutorial hasn't told me yet to build a warehouse, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know I'm going to need it. Because if we take a look at the HQ has 160 or 159 out of 316 resource capacity, but we're going to exceed that pretty soon. So I'm going to put a warehouse here. So the builders that were building the shelter are going to be building the warehouse and building the wooden tower.
Reporting. Ready for action. Ready for action.
All right, Bloody Death Squad going to deploy out to the source of the smoke.
Roger. Search done.
There's like a Toyota dealer over here.
Hostiles inbound.
Ooh, and a vehicle.
Sir, we just found a car that looks drivable. Let's try to make it run again.
Okay, try it.
Building clear. Chief, we found some survivors. They've been living in terrible conditions for the last few years. We could bring them in, but will we be able to feed them?
Okay, so you guys have a very quick decision to make here, which is, do we take in the survivors?
Sir, we need your answer.
And as you can see, they're waiting for our answer.
We need your response.
Okay, we're going to accept them.
Bring them in.
Receiving.
I'm going to send the Bloody Death Squad over to the car and take over the car so that we have wheels. Alright, this squad finished scavenging the local buildings, so I'm going to have them continue. Actually, you know what? I'm going to have them go to the other police HQ down here, looking for more guns. And here is the neutral group coming in that wants to join us.
Vehicle miss driving so much. This will help speed up our scavenging. And we can run over the infected if they get too close.
Okay. So you can use your car as like a battering ram. I wouldn't, but you could.
Sir, we need...
Well, we're gonna see.
Operator.
And one advantage of having wheels is it allows you to go out to points of interest that obviously wouldn't be walkable within a reasonable amount of time. So I'm going to send this group out to this police HQ.
Building repurposed.
And our warehouse is up. And as you can see, the warehouse shares the resources and capacity that the HQ does. Alright, and this wooden tower, I am putting no one in. I'm evacuating it. Now the reason, and let me back this up. The reason I don't like, and this will get into a lot of the game mechanics that we'll be getting into later on, but I'm going to just tell you why I don't like wooden towers. So, squad members can level up their abilities. They can gain skills. They can gain skills in fighting, scavenging, driving, etc. And the people in your watchtower cannot. So, it is better, in my opinion, to have a squad of 2 people holed up in a building to act as a watchtower than it is to... and have them be shooters, gaining skills and getting better, rather than, like, 2 random citizens that sit in a tower doing nothing all day. So the only reason to ever use wooden towers is if you absolutely need coverage or line of sight on a certain area and don't have a building that you could modify to be some sort of something. So if I wanted like a watchtower, let's say over here, instead of being a watchtower, I could adapt it to a squad quarters or a warehouse. Actually, in fact, one of the advantages of making a warehouse is your people holed up in the building would be able to refill their ammo and supplies and armor and change weapons and everything. So instead of using watchtowers, I like to use squad HQs or warehouses or something like that, because they serve relatively similar purpose, but they are but the people with guns will be able to level up as a result. And all right, we have 15 unemployed people right now, so let's get them employed. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to have them break down this building. This building is honestly just too large for me to ever physically use. It's really huge, and I'd rather have the wood, metal, and bricks that it's made out of.
Operator.
So the bodyguard squad's over here, scavenging the Uniform Services Facility, and this one scavenging the Alice Springs Police Station. We're trying to find more weapons. The amount of trees that we have available to us within this zone is decreasing. So I'm going to set up another tree cutting zone. Because your citizens have to physically commute to where they are working,
Work's done.
you don't want to set up like tree cutting really far away from your base because most of the time will be spent walking to and from.
Operator.
Oh, there's a group of survivors down here.
Waiting orders. Chief, we just found an assault rifle. This will come in handy against large hordes. Let's just not waste too much ammo on nothing.
Use it with caution.
Alright, the Bloody Death Squad found an assault rifle, and I'm giving it to Liam Dittmer, who's the leader.
Building clear. Ready for action.
And the Boutmen also found an assault rifle. So they both found assault rifles. And I usually like to give the squad leaders an assault rifle. The assault rifles aren't exactly ammo friendly, but if you have a lot of things to kill, they kill well. It's also worth noting that the sedan here has an internal capacity, and the internal capacity allows you to, when you're scouting and looting, load a lot of the stuff up into the trunk to bring home. And different vehicles will have different capacity numbers.
Sir, it's almost nightfall. We can already see some infected coming out of their lairs.
Okay. Get ready to defend the zone.
Roger. Kill them!
So here is some attackers.
Going there.
And they were going to attack our warehouse, so I shot at them to lure them towards the HQ. And then I can turtle inside the HQ. So if we pan around here, because the HQ is a secured building, the zombies can't get in. They have to fight their way in, meaning the defenders cannot be harmed. Not until the HQ falls. Which, obviously, in this case, it won't.
Horde spotted.
Because it was a small group.
Going there. On my way. On my way. Waiting orders.
Okay. If you hit K, as in kilo, it issues an order for the vehicles to return back to HQ.
Number one incoming. Waiting orders.
And we have a large group coming in
Going there.
to us here. So I'm going to try to lure them back to the HQ. And in fact,
Do it.
Bloody Death Squad's coming in with a car, so they'll be able to offer support as well.
Reporting. Roger.
So now both groups are defending.
They're breaking into our building.
Alright, Bloody Death Squad. I don't want you sitting at home. You have wheels, so you can continue looting. And I'm going to leave the Boutman Squad at home.
Let's do it.
In fact, actually, no, I'm not. The Boutman Squad, I'm going to have go scavenge this building. What I'm going to do is have a third squad. So, if I unemploy 4 people, I will be able to 1, 2, 3, 4 create another squad.
Receiving.
And this squad is going to be named after you guys, so there's a raffle timer that's up. This squad, I'm going to have be a defense-only squad, meaning that they are not going to scavenge, and I'll explain why. So when your scavengers scavenge, they'll level up and gain scavenger skills, which makes them better at scavenging, but not necessarily better at fighting. If you have a squad dedicated solely for fighting, when they level up, they will only level up fighting skills, and therefore they will be even better at fighting. So I'd like to have some squads specialize in scavenging, and some squads specialize in fighting. And in this case, Squad 3 will be our fighting squad. They're not going to do anything but fight.
Going there. Ready for action.
All right, we don't have any fuel, so let's head over to the building just north of the one we're deconstructing for fuel.
Receiving. Horde spotted.
And with the horde spotted, I can have
Ready for action. Let's do it.
the car.
On the move.
So when you're on the move, you have a accuracy disadvantage
We're on the move.
when you're
Going there.
running like this, or driving rather. So it's best if you're trying to use a car to shoot zombies for you to kite. So drive, park, drive, park, drive, park.
On my way.
In this case, I'm going to use the vehicle to lure this horde into our defending
We're
squad.
on the move. Operator. On my way. Waiting orders.
If you don't lure,
Roger.
the zombies might just choose to chew up a building that is unguarded. But if you use the vehicle to do some luring, you can control where the zombies go and lure them to where your defenders are.
The door won't hold much longer.
And in this case, I chose to lure them to our armed defender squad.
Operator. Operator.
So Bloody Death is going to be looting the Toyota for fuel and food.
Waiting orders.
Boutmen, because they don't have wheels, will just be searching the local area.
Found.
And then the third squad is solely for defense.
There are some infected around here.
So this is a case where my
Coming.
Bloody Death squad might get ambushed by this horde.
Infected incoming.
but I'm not exactly worried as the exit is east. So if they did, these this horde would have a very hard time getting to the squad before the squad could retaliate.
Waiting orders. There are some infected around here.
So let's have this squad fight the infected group.
Another one incoming.
Just because they're my scavengers doesn't necessarily mean I shouldn't use them to fight occasionally.
Let's do it. Search done.
And in this case, what happened was there was 2 entrances into this building. One here and one in back. So the zombies did come in and breach. And as you can see, 2 people got hurt. Here's the other entryway. 2 people got hurt and will need half a day to recover. Thank you for tuning in to Infection Free Zone, which originally streamed live on Twitch February 11th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in the next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow survivors.